Hello again, everybody. Welcome back. It's another edition of Sportsbook Confidential. My name is John Sullivan, and I'm coming to you live from the FingerLakes1.com studios in Seneca Falls, New York. And this little show here is to help you learn and grow as a sports bettor. And I think we've got a great sportsbook lesson that I've kind of touched on before, but I'm going to go much more in depth today. Betting totals, also known as the over-under. And if you're a beginning sports bettor, I think you'll find this really valuable information, and I hope I don't get too mathematical on you. I have a visual aid, a hand-drawn visual aid. Hopefully you can see it. And we're going to talk about how to find a good over-under wager, how to bet on totals. And then, of course, we have a bunch of college games, really good college matchups this week. And we have NFL Week 6. With the Bills are off this week, but we have some good games. We've got a game in London, and the Monday night game looks pretty good. And, of course, I'll have my picks for you. And, speaking of picks, why don't we start like we always do and update my bankroll? And lo and behold, a very good week for the bankroll. I went 6-1. And that one loss was a really, really tough beat, in my opinion. So we were really on fire last week, had a nice boost. Let's take a quick look. We had the Yankees over against the Twins. That won last Friday, $14 added to the bankroll. And then same night we had the San Jose Sharks under 6.5, and that was a winner, adding $17 to the bankroll. Navy and Air Force over. That was a easy win for us. I still don't understand why that line was so low. Plus $15 to the bankroll. And we had the Texas-West Virginia under, and the team scored 35 points in the fourth quarter and 3 touchdowns within the last 3 minutes of the game. The game wasn't really that close, so it was kind of strange, but we ended up losing on that. Minus $16. Then we had the Colts plus 11 against the Chiefs. The Colts won outright. Of course, Mahomes was injured during the game or aggravated an injury during the game, but that was an easy sweat for us. The Saints and the Bucs went over 45, and that was an easy sweat for us as well. And then the Steelers won plus 3.5. They lost in overtime by 3, but we covered, and also $15 to the bankroll. So if you do the math, that is a $75 a pump to the positive, and that makes our bankroll $574. And then we're going to divide by 30 as we always do, because we try to be selective sports bettors and not bet too many games. And the bet size is going to be $19 this week. Now, I did have a lot of bets last week. There was baseball, hockey, and football all going at the same time. I'm not going to cover hockey today. There's 3 hockey games tonight, but we'll do more hockey in the future. I feel really good about my model this year, and so far the results have been very promising. So we'll talk more about hockey down the road. But what we are going to talk about today is overs, unders, also known as totals. So for those of you that are not familiar with this type of wager, an over-under or a total is you are wagering on the total combined points in a game. So last night, the Patriots played the Giants, and it was 14 points for the Giants and 35 for the Patriots. So that would be 49 points total. So the sportsbook will put a line out on the game, and you have to bet, is it going to go over that number or under that number? And last night's total was 43, so they ended up with 49 points. It went over. Now, there are basic strategies that can help you choose a totals wager, and we're going to talk about specific instances shortly. But as a sweeping generalization, if somebody was somebody's walked into a casino the first time and came up to me and said, what bet should I make? Not look like a fool. It's hard to give somebody a lock or anything like that. But if you're going to bet a total, you look for a very low total and expect to find a reason to bet over the low total, or a very high total and find a reason to bet under that total. So it says in general, bet over on low totals, under on high totals, after considering all factors. And we're going to talk about some of those factors here. So let's start with league averages and totals. Here's where my visual aid will come in. The NFL average combined score is between 44 and 46 points, depending on the season. So if scoring is up in the NFL, it's usually like closer to 46 points. Scoring is down or way down, it might be 44, 43 and a half. But on average, it's going to be about 45 points a year. And I'm going to show you a visualization of that and try to get it real close so you can see that on the screen. If I was to plot every score of every game in the season, you could see that the ones, if you added all those scores together and then divided by the number of games, you would get 45. But you would also notice as you draw the distribution that the games that finish around 45 are of the highest frequency, the most number of games. So the point I'm making is that there's a strong mathematical correlation that the league average is 45 points a game. So using the same example, if two teams were to schedule the same game many, many times, their average total would lean towards the league average. So if the Giants and the Patriots that played last night were going to play that same game 100 or more times on the same field, same ref crew, same general conditions, it's that score is going to, the average of all their 100 games they played is going to go back and towards that league average. And in general, any single instance could be way off the charts. They could score 80 points in one game. They could score 7 points in another game. But if if you aggregate all of those scores, you're going to see it kind of draw towards that league average of 45 points a game. And there are always factors that affect lines, affect totals, such as weather, injuries, coaching, and suspensions. So obviously everybody was worried about the wind and the rain last night. I discount that greatly because the NFL does not like to put a prime time game on with insane bad weather conditions, so they would suspend play. Injuries, if certain key players are not playing, that can affect the total that the Sportsbook puts out. Coaching, of course, if a coach is fired or suspended, if there's a new coach or, one coach is out because of an illness, it's not always, they have a chain of command to call the game, but it's not always done smoothly. And suspensions, of course, players are thrown out of a game or suspended for an extra game, and that will affect the line. But assuming that none of those things are going to drastically affect the game, if you are a beginning bettor, you say to yourself, well, I know that the league average is 45 points a game, and if the total is 38, you are getting a touchdown away, 7 points away from the league average of 45. So you say, well, I will look to bet the over there. Let's see what's going on. Conversely, if you see a total and it's set at 55 points, you'll say to yourself, well, that's 10 points away from the league total. Let's take a look and see if there's a reason to bet the under. So that's, the mindset that you need if you're going to bet total. So we're also going to talk about overtime rules and totals. And this splits up between college and pro, basically. In college football, teams play an indefinite extra possessions until the tie is broken. So if there's an overtime game in college, they start on the opponent's 25-yard line. So they're only 25 yards away from a touchdown. And they take turns with possessions until the tie is broken. everybody gets, it's like extra innings in baseball. They each get a chance to score, and then, that the game ends when there's no longer a tie. In the NFL, it is likely that only 3 or 6 points will be scored in overtime. It could be 0. It could be as many as 12 points is the max you could score in a pro overtime by kicking 2 field goals and then one team scoring a touchdown. But usually it'll be one team kick a field goal, the other team not get any points, or one team score a touchdown and end the game instantly. So it's not going to add, it's not going to affect the total. You don't really have to worry about overtime as much in the NFL. And in the CFL, it's kind of similar to the college game. They play 2 possessions on the opponent's 35, and in a regular season, and after 2 possessions, if it's still a tie, the game ends in a tie. In the playoffs, they play, until the tie is broken. But college is very difficult with the totals because there's a wide variety of players, there's a wide variety of coaching and playing styles, and it's a different game with different rules. The pro game, although they may not lead you to believe it if you watch the TV, the difference in competition from the top team to the bottom team in the NFL is actually pretty close. You've seen some crazy spreads this year, like 17.5 points, but it's much closer than it is in college. So, it's tough to bet, under on a 75-point spread or over on a 38-point spread because of the disparities between the two teams. I could talk about that for about a half an hour, but I'm just going to let it pass. So we've talked about weather. We've talked about, coaching, players out. These are all factors that you need to look at when considering betting a total. I find betting totals in pro sports to be pretty straightforward. There's not going to be a lot of surprises. I would say in NBA, there's been a lot of late scratches, and that can be very difficult on the totals. But for football, I think they're good bets. And I think with the NFL likes parity. They like close games. And, it's a pretty simple formula to, look for low totals and bet over, and look for high totals and bet under. It's going to keep you from, losing lots of money over time until you get to the point where you can get really good at totals. So, to finish up on the totals conversation, if you see a total that's low, look for the reason to bet the over. If you see a high total, look for a reason to bet the under. Now, model builders like myself, even though I am a pretty amateur model builder, will bet their totals based upon the reliability of their prediction and market factors. What that means is if I see a total, if I do my model and it says the game's average score is 47 points, and then the bookmaker comes out and he makes the line 50 points, I said, well, that's 3 points different from my prediction. And that would, influence me to bet the under. Now, I can wait and see where the line moves, see if the line moves away from my model or towards my model. And you could even place a wager early, and if the line moves, then place the opposite side and buy out of it. That's more of an advanced strategy. But the point being is when you get to the point where you can build your own model and you can trust the numbers that your model produces, then you don't need to worry as much about league averages. But if you're just a beginning bettor and you want to go and you like to root for points, find a low total and bet the over. If you are a beginning bettor and you like a team that has a great defense, do the opposite. Find a high total and bet the under. And enjoy yourself and learn more about totals and learn more about league averages and get your toe in the pool of all the numbers, and maybe it'll help you start building your own model someday. So I hope that was helpful for everybody. We've got a lot of football to cover. So let's get right into it. And we're going to start with Friday night college football. And I got 2 games on the schedule that interest me. We have Virginia at Miami. Of course, Virginia got clocked by Notre Dame in their last game, and now they travel to Miami, which is a young team but a good competitive team. Miami is favored by 2.5 at home, 43. I have Virginia as 1.51 favorites and 42.4, so the total's about the same. So that leans Virginia to me. When my number's on the opposite side of the book's numbers, I have enough confidence in my model that team is going to be competitive to at least cover the spread. So I'm going to look at that one later. And then we have Colorado at Oregon. Oregon is the only hope for the Pac-12 to get into the championship game. I'm sorry, to get into the championship playoff, I should say. And Oregon at home, minus 21.5, 59.5, minus 19.88, 58.35. That's pretty much the same. Not really any value there. So let's move on to the Saturday games. And we've got the Red River Shootout, Oklahoma, Texas, in a neutral field. Texas plus 10.5, 75. I have it at plus 8.15, 75.73. Memphis at Temple. This one really struck my fancy. We have Temple as plus 5.5 dog. 49 is the total. I have it plus 5.73. 61.09. My model says this is going way over. And that's a huge difference. 10 points on a total is a huge difference in any football. And that happened last week with the Navy game. And I said, boy, I had it at 57. And the total on the board was 46, and I said, "Geez, I gotta bet that." And sure enough, it ended up at 57 points. So I'm going to trust my model, and that's probably going to end up on my picks today. Louisville at Wake Forest minus 765, minus 12.25, 70.34. Wake Forest is undefeated, still a long shot to win the national championship. Of course, they'd have to get through Clemson. They're at home, but getting 12. Getting 7, giving up 7. My model says they're going to win by more than 7. I don't trust that game as much. My head says Louisville is a competitive team, and that will be a closer game. Maybe not. There could be a late score, turnover, whatever that could affect that spread, but that game just doesn't appeal to me right now. Nebraska at Minnesota, minus 7.5, 50. Minus 7.63, 56. So that leans under, but the spread's right on. Iowa State at West Virginia, plus 10.53. That should be plus 8.43, 57.03. So it's close, but again, that leans under. Hawaii at Boise State. Boise State's still undefeated. Hawaii is actually pretty good. I think they only have 1 loss. Minus 12.5, 60.5. They're playing on that blue Smurf turf in Boise. Minus 13.48, 61.28. Those numbers are very close. I don't see any value on that game. Washington State at Arizona State, minus 1.5 and 60. I have Arizona State as 4.28 favorites, so it definitely leans to Sparky there. And 53.54, that also leans under. It leans under, excuse me. And then Washington at Arizona, Pac-12 after dark, Arizona plus 660. I have Arizona as a 2.68 favorite, 49.79. So that's another game where it's way different. So I lean under there, and I lean Arizona plus the 6 for sure. So let's see what else we got in college. We have some real marquee games. Texas Tech at Baylor, minus 11, 58.5. I have it at minus 8.32, 55.67. Michigan State at Wisconsin. Wisconsin's heading for that big showdown at Ohio State, so they better not look ahead. Minus 10.5, 40.5, minus 9.05, 42.01, very close. Florida at LSU. LSU minus 13.5, 55.5. I have this game at minus 7.59. So Florida is getting almost an extra touchdown on the road, which just baffles me. This team has been constantly underestimated all season long. It's a tough place to play. It's that they call that place Death Valley on the Bayou, as opposed to Clemson. They call it Death Valley as well. But, Florida getting 13.5 points is a lot of points against anybody in the country. Alabama at Texas A&M, plus 1761, plus 17.35, 64.23. Texas A&M they've been really good at running that no-huddle offense late, and they get those garbage time points, usually against the second string. They should probably run that offense the whole game. They'd probably do better. USC at Notre Dame, big rivalry, minus 10.5, 59. Minus 13.14, 53. My model favors Notre Dame and the under. Florida State at Clemson, minus 27, 59.5. I have it at minus 29.17, 58.06. You know that Clemson wants to put a spanking on somebody to make up for that 1-point victory at North Carolina. Penn State at Iowa, plus 3, 41.5, plus 5.49, 41.78. Total's right on, but it leans towards taking Penn State minus the 3. And then Wyoming at San Diego State. I got a lot of good Mountain West teams this week. Minus 3.5, 38.5, minus 2.48, 36.58, my model says. That's a super low number. This is not going to be a bad weather game. I know that Wyoming is offensively challenged, but that 36 is a low total. I couldn't bet under 38.5 on that game. So that's going to do it for college. Let's move on to the pros, and we're in some bye weeks. It's interesting when they have all the teams playing. All the games are in North America, but when the teams start getting the byes, they start putting games out in London. And it doesn't make any sense to me, but it's all about money, and that's why they do it, and we just have to accept it, I guess. Panthers at Bucks, or versus Bucks in London, plus 247. I feel like, Kyle Allen has played well, and I'm assuming he's going to start on Sunday, but, getting him out of his element, I don't think would be that hard to do. I think that Bruce Arians' defense is pretty good. I have the Bucks is 1.59 dogs, 48-10, so those numbers are right on. But I wouldn't be surprised if the Bucks won that game. Bengals at Ravens, minus 12, 47.5, minus 11.3, 48.56. Those are pretty close numbers right there. Seahawks at Browns, plus 1.5, 46, plus 1.4, 47.23. Those are also very close numbers. Most people say the NFL is the largest betting market of sports, and many people say it's the most efficient market. And, if I did this podcast 3 days ago, my model numbers would be the same, but the sportsbook numbers would be very different. And they've been bet throughout the week, and this is where they're at now. They're very close to where my numbers are. Texans at Chiefs, minus 4, 55. I have minus 4.3, 55.87. Again, very close. Saints at Jaguars, minus 1, 44. I have the Saints as 2.23 favorites, so that's like a 3-point swing for the Saints. 45.11. So we'll keep an eye on that game. Eagles at Vikings, minus 3, 44. Minus 4.42, 42.58. Again, very close, but it leans to the under. Skins at the Dolphins. Dolphins getting 3.5. 42 is the total. I have it exactly at 3.5. 40.82, and that's it's going to be a nice weather game. I can't really say I want to bet under 42. 49ers at Rams. This game really intrigues me. Gurley is not playing, but he doesn't play that much anyway. He's not the 30 carry guy. It doesn't really affect the line that much. 49ers at Rams, minus 3.5, 50.5, minus 3.61, 50.39. The numbers are very close. So let's move on to the rest of the games in NFL Week 6. Falcons at Cardinals, two teams in the basement. Plus 2.5, 51, plus 2.89, 50.17. Numbers are within one. Cowboys at Jets. Darnold is back for the Jets, getting 7.5. 45 is the total. I have the Cowboys 9.76 favorites, 45.35. Titans at Broncos. Broncos minus 2.5, 41. I have it at minus 1.5 and 36.27. Again, I can't bring myself to bet an under that low on a game that's at 41. Steelers at Chargers. Chargers minus 7, 41.5. This is a Sunday night game. I have it at minus 2.31, 44-13. So, the Steelers have had a lot of tough losses and they've had injuries, but they've been competitive. And 7 points is a lot here. So, and also it leans, 3 points to the over there. And even if this game ends up being lopsided, it's very likely that this game could go over 41.5. And then Monday night, we have the Lions at the Packers, minus 4.5, 47. And I have minus 4.33, 48.1. What can you say? That Aaron Rodgers has been awesome. Packers defense has been very good. It's probably going to be the kicking that ends up killing them in the end. That's the way it goes in this league. So we'll see what happens. So let's take a few minutes to wrap it up, and I'm going to show you my picks for this week. I have 6 picks for you, 3 college and 3 pro. I'm going to start tonight with Virginia plus 2.5, minus 109. I feel like they're going to win this game outright. There wasn't much value on taking the money line, but I'll take the 2.5 points. Memphis and Temple over 49, minus 110. I don't understand why this total is so low. I think it should be higher. We did really good last week with Navy. We'll see how that goes. And then I'm taking Florida plus 13.5 points at LSU. That's just too many points. I'm not saying they're going to win the game, but they're going to give LSU a good game. So I really like the 13.5 there. And then on Sunday, we're going to take the Saints money line against Jacksonville, on the road in Jacksonville. Teddy Bridgewater's played well. If it's a close game, I really like the Saints. So it will have to be, there may have to be an injury or a big blowout for it to not be in the game at the end. I'm going to take the Cowboys minus the 7.5, plus 110 at the Jets. I have them as almost 10-point favorites in this game, even with Darnold back. The Jets are a mess, and it can't be fixed in 1 week with one player. And then Sunday night, I have the Steelers and the Chargers over 41.5, minus 105. Once again, the Steelers always find a way to be competitive, and even if it's not, I feel like the Chargers, if they're going to put some points up, they need a confidence win. The Chargers, if they want to turn this season around, so I expect enough points to get the over there. So that's going to do it for this week's show. Hopefully, we'll get another good week with the bankroll and boost it up more in the positive direction. Thanks for tuning in. I hope I had some helpful information for you, and enjoy your weekend. Enjoy your football. Bet confident, and I'll play the outro music for you, and we'll see you on the next episode. Take care, everybody.